My name is Hyun. I'm 32 years old, originally born in Boston, but recently a transplant and moved to DC. I was in Boston for my entire life. I was there for 32 years, except for a brief hiatus when I went to college in Western Pennsylvania. My family's immigration story is actually a little complicated. My dad originally came to Boston with his first wife in the 80s, and then that marriage didn't really pan out, and was introduced to my mom through one of her aunts, and they exchanged a couple letters. My dad flew to Korea, they met. She goes, oh, they saw this like tall, handsome guy, and they went on a couple of dates, and she goes, he'll do, and decided to move to Boston together after they got married. I have a half older sister, and who were super, super close, and a younger sister who's 13 months younger than me, and she reminds me of that all the time. My relationship with my dad, and then, him choosing to leave, that really informed like my life, and just seeing, what America purports itself to be. But then my life, with my mom raising us as a single mom, like that reality being, I think what most people in this America experience. I was 13, 14 years old when he basically created a situation in which I felt compelled and almost forced to tell him that he had to leave. All I saw was my mom working 2-3 jobs, busting her ass. When we were in kindergarten, my dad was like in Europe or in Africa on some business trip that we never saw a single penny come home. I remember being alone and like wondering where my dad was. All the failed businesses that we go to, one that was one in Lawrence, or the one that was in New York, and all the promises of, we're so close, I'm so close, and that disappointment that piled up. When my mom wanted to buy the laundromat that she had been working at, she didn't have the capital, but the laundromat owner happened to have to file for bankruptcy, and my mom presented him a proposal in which he wouldn't get all the money up front, but he would definitely get the money at some point. And he didn't really have much of an option, but he also trusted my mom because my mom had never not followed through on her word. So he agreed to sell it to her. And I just remember my dad not being a team player. I think it hurt his pride too much. And I think that's when I was like, you gotta go. My dad started this big fight, and I'm not proud of it, but I remember punching him in the face. The look of shock on my dad's face. And I remember telling him to get out. But I think what hurt more was he just goes into the closet and grabs his pre-packed bags and just takes off. I went to Korea for the first time when I was 27, called him. I said, I'm in Korea, we're gonna meet up, and I have a lot to say to you. If you at any point interrupt me, I am gonna get up, I'm gonna leave, and you're never gonna hear from me again. And I gotta say, to his credit, he sat there and he took it. I was bawling in tears and really just giving it to him, and said all the things I needed to say. And I realized I'm really fortunate that was my experience, because I think for a lot of children, that's not the experience that they have. And so in that sense, I'm grateful, because that allowed me to really fortify my understanding of forgiveness. My relationship with my dad, he is someone who I've come to accept as someone who is just deeply flawed, and who cares a lot about his children. There's no doubt in my mind that he loves his kids. Even when I talk to him now, I check up on him every once in a while, and you can hear the regret and the remorse, and how much he's punishing himself for his actions, realizing he's missing out on all of his grandchildren, watching his children grow up. I actually put a lot of thought into how he got to that point. To me, I think a lot of it is you have these immigrant men that are coming to America under the promise of, if you work hard, you play by the rules, you do everything you're supposed to do, then you're gonna succeed and achieve your wildest imaginations. And they come here, and then they realize, oh, that's not necessarily true. So I can only imagine, especially knowing our culture and knowing how dependent they are on patriarchy and the man being the breadwinner and the honor that is, realizing that you can't uphold that figure that you're told that you had to be, and being that disappointment, not just to your family, but to yourself. And then how that creates self-hatred, how that creates pain. And then you're in this country and you have no one to talk to about it. You have no language to be able to articulate it. You have no community to be able to heal from it. There's also the reality that no matter how you feel, you still have to come through and try to deliver and take care and support your family. So now you're dealing with the personal and emotional and psychological side, but then also the very physical reality of the fact that your bills are starting to pile up and the amount of stress that incurs. So it's not surprising to me to see the substance abuse. It's not surprising to me to see the domestic abuse. It doesn't, again, explain or absolve any of it, but I can understand why my dad was alcoholic at one point. And it does explain his chain smoking. It does explain some of the violent outbursts that he would have. That took me 32 years to get to that understanding. After my dad left, my friends' dads were really awesome. They'd call and check in and just be like, hey, like, how are you doing? Come over anytime. We'll just watch the game together, and just treated me like another son. I had coaches checking in. I had teachers checking in. Till years later that I found out that it was my mom who had asked them to do it. It took an immense amount of love for her to ask my friend's parents, to check in, and basically admitting that she can't raise her children by herself. I think to her, it was so much more important that we've got love and we're taken care of and felt like understood and supported, that she was like, my ego or my pride is like not even a question in this or factor. I see my mom working so hard and I see her being so capable, and like, why is this so hard for her? Why does it have to be this way when I keep on hearing about how America is this like bastion of opportunity and like where people, uproot their entire lives just for a fighting chance here. So it made me, I think, examine a lot of like, what is the American dream? And, if it's this hard for my mom, then I don't want it to be that hard for anybody else. Ever since I was younger, anytime I saw injustice, it really bothered me, because I was someone who felt like I experienced it. There'd be times when I was the one being on the receiving end of bullying or racism, and I would be gaslit because I was bigger, and I would be the one to get in trouble or get suspended or get sent home. It would be my voice that was always being ignored by my teachers, and eventually that changed over time. But like, I just like distinct memories of that happening to me. I push back when people say Asians are silent. I think Asian American, it's a difference between being silent and being told to shut up, and the difference between not speaking up for yourself and standing up for yourself and being told to sit down. So when I think about those things, like, in the experience that we've had, I said I needed to change that, and I realized you have to understand and navigate systems in order to do that. All that has definitely impacted my life decisions, and why I chose to go into public service, why I decided to make the career decisions I've made. Right now, I'm the Director of Government Relations for the Asian American Foundation, or TAF, and also co-founder of a sneaker brand called 1587 Sneakers. So my work at TAF, what led me there was I was working for Michelle Wu before. This opportunity for this role came up at TAF, and they know this, like when I was chair of the Massachusetts Asian American Commission, we met with them originally when they first formed, and I've had my critiques of the foundation from the beginning, and have expressed that to them. But also I realized like just critiquing and is not actually that helpful, and when the opportunity came to be able to help build the infrastructure for what this organization the impact it was gonna have moving forward, I realized like, instead of just talking about it, let's be about it, and took the leap knowing that there were going to be opinions had about taking the role, but trying to see the bigger picture. So I have to say, like, my work there has been really fulfilling in the sense where I have had a lot of agency and empowerment to build, knowing that I'm going to take punches, knowing that there are going to be people that say what they have to say, but also trusting the fact that the people that know me believe where my heart is and know where my heart is. I feel like that has helped me kind of have the audacity to take this role, but also being mindful that, there are a lot of people that don't look like me, that don't identify the way that I do and the way that I present myself to the world, that will never be able to sit in the positions that I sit in. So I always try to hold on to that. And like, my mom is like the biggest reason why I did a lot of this work, and I try to carry that and honor her in everything I do. I have like a decades-long like map in my head. That includes what I do for my sneaker business. That includes the speaking engagements I do. And I have this whole like, it's all like mapped out in my head, and everything I've done is try to make it push back against the notion of what Asian Americans are and who we are and how we're supposed to move and present ourselves. For me, it's never been about amassing power in politics, but I wanted to be able to amass enough influence to be able to effectuate change in culture. And fashion is one way of doing that. Business sector is another way of doing that. I wanted to also change the narrative of what Asian Americans, how we present ourselves, right? And that we're multifaceted, we're multidimensional. And that meant that I had to be unapologetically myself. That means not being afraid of judgment or fear of failure, but rather just like, I'm gonna do this because I care and I love this and I'm having so much fun with it, but also how do we take the blueprint of building what we're building and the success that we've had and then share that with everybody else. And so what we've done is been able to take what we have, even our relationships, and share that with as many entrepreneurs as possible. And hopefully if this continues to be successful, then we can really take that blueprint and pass that along. And so that we are building more amazing companies and these founders and empowerment, and then also be able to take that money and put my money where my mouth is and actually invest in those companies myself. I'm not exactly where I want to be yet, but I am damn proud of what I'm able to accomplish and what I'm able to effectuate, and realizing that I get to do things that right now that are going to have an impact on people in a positive way, whether they see it or not. My name is Hyun, and this is my Korean American story.